The early morning air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of pine and wet earth from the pond's edge. Our barrier, a tall, reinforced structure, stood proudly at the perimeter of the property. A simple line to protect the grounds and maintain privacy, yet for Karen, it had become the focal point of obsession. She had recently attempted to forbid the barrier, claiming it was overly tall and disruptive to HOA aesthetics. What she did not understand was that this very barrier had already saved her from consequences she could not yet see. I arrived at the barrier with my tactical team, surveying the property from vantage points strategically positioned for maximum coverage. Drones hovered silently above, capturing every angle, every approach to the estate. Karen's loyalists had no awareness that their interference would have consequences far beyond aesthetics. They believed that the removal of a mere physical obstruction would weaken our position, but they were about to learn the truth. Karen herself appeared in her signature black SUV, her face flushed with irritation. She waved her phone and papers, shouting, "This is unacceptable. That barrier must be removed immediately. It violates HOA rules." Her loyalists followed behind, prepared to enforce her will by any means necessary. But today, as with every escalation, they were walking into a controlled scenario, designed to neutralize their aggression without unnecessary violence. I stepped forward, credentials displayed prominently, voice calm but commanding. "This barrier is legal, necessary, and entirely within our rights. Any attempt to remove it without consent constitutes trespassing and unlawful interference. Step back immediately." Her loyalists paused, uncertainty overtaking their assumed authority. They had expected hesitation, fear, or panic. Instead, they were met with calm, measured, and legally supported authority. The bluff that had allowed them to act with impunity was collapsing before their eyes. Karen, frustrated and desperate, attempted to advance toward the barrier. But the tactical team, positioned discreetly along both flanks, moved into formation, effectively preventing any approach. Their presence was a silent but undeniable message. The barrier would remain, and any attempt to remove it would be met with immediate consequences. From the treeline, my sibling, a former Marine, observed Karen's movements and stepped into position, reinforcing the line of defense. Karen's fury escalated, shouting threats into her phone, demanding intervention, and attempting to rally her loyalists. But the combination of legality, tactical readiness, and strategic placement made her actions irrelevant. Minutes passed, tension hanging in the air like a storm cloud. Karen's loyalists began to recognize the futility of their attempts. Their movements slowed, coordination faltered, and frustration became evident in their posture. They were trapped in a scenario where intimidation was powerless and aggression had no effect. As the day progressed, the unexpected occurred. A sudden shift in the wind carried the scent of nearby wildlife into the cleared field behind the HOA's headquarters. Wild pigs, attracted by the movement and commotion, wandered directly into Karen's territory, trampling her carefully maintained fields. The irony was palpable. The very barrier she had sought to eliminate had protected her from this natural consequence, inadvertently shielding the estate from disaster while leaving her exposed. Karen screamed, waving her hands helplessly at the intruders, trying to regain control. Her attempts were meaningless. The property was secure, the barrier intact, and the tactical team maintained perfect oversight. Every attempt at interference had been anticipated, every path neutralized, and every consequence documented for legal reinforcement. I walked along the barrier, observing the calm waters of the pond and the protective line that had thwarted Karen's obsession. "She never learns," I said quietly to my spouse. "Every attempt to impose control only reveals her lack of foresight and the strength of preparation." "Yes," my spouse replied, holding the infant securely. "Obsession blinds her, but strategy protects us. Every time she escalates, she demonstrates the limits of her own authority." By evening, Karen had retreated, her loyalists following, humiliated and defeated by circumstances they could neither predict nor control. The barrier stood firm, the property secure, and the estate untouched. Her attempts at interference had failed, and natural events had ironically reinforced the necessity of what she sought to destroy. The pond reflected the sunset, golden and serene, a reminder that preparation, legality, and foresight always prevail over reckless obsession. Karen's aggression had once again been neutralized, leaving the property untouchable, the family safe, and the barrier, a symbol of protection, unmoved.